Howdy, y'all. I'm Bobby Jo Compton, Mrs. Texas America 2008. I would like to welcome you tonight to the Mrs. Texas America 2009 pageant. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, ladies. Come on back. Please welcome to the stage your hosts for this evening, Dewan Mizzou and Dawn Grant.
Wow, we made it. How are you tonight? Before we get into this, does anybody know anybody up here? I figured that. Are you ready for a fun night tonight, Dewan?
I am. We want to welcome you to the 2009 Mrs. Texas America pageant. We're glad that you all are here. We know that some of you were here last year and the year before, so we're excited that you brought your moms and your wives back, right?
Yes, we certainly are happy with that. And you know, the winner of tonight's competition is going on to represent the state of Texas. Is that where we are? Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
You're not from Texas, right?
Tonight, I am from Texas. I am from Texas, darn it. See, I got some boots on here.
Because when you're from Texas, you don't forget it.
I drove a truck. Is that going to help? Okay.
If it has big tires?
It has big old tires. You should see the bumper sticker, but I'm not going to say what it says. Anyway, we want to welcome you tonight, and they're going to go on to compete in the 2009 Mrs. America pageant, but we'll also enjoy a year of traveling through this great state. Okay, are we
ready? I think it's time for the swimsuit
Are they ready for us?
You guys ready to see the ladies in swimsuits?
So what I want you to do is I want you to scream, to yell, to clap, to cheer on your mom, your sister, your daughter, your wife. Wow, and here we go.
All right, we're going to start with contestant number 1, Sonia Apple, Miss Denton County.
Run on no. This is Bear County.
He was MacGyver. Back to Hawaii. 18. Night Rider.
Christina Mitchell, Mrs. Bay Area.
MacGyver. Back to Hawaii.
Kristen Holland, Mrs. Katie.
Carrie Thomas, Mrs. Lone Star.
Cindy Mokry, Mrs. Austin.
Billy Joe Ryan, Mrs. Waller County.
Christine Reeves, Mrs. Tomball. There you go.
Amy Hogan, Mrs. Southlake.
18. Night Rider. He was MacGyver. Back to Hawaii. 18.
Holly Hensler, Mrs. Plano.
MacGyver. Back to Hawaii.
Teeza Severnall, Mrs. Arlington.
if all the ladies could come back out, please, so that the judges can get another look at you.
Wow, I see some abs there, some washboard stomachs. Woo!
Judges have a very tough job ahead of them, obviously.
Yes, and this is only 10 of the ladies. We still have 22 more.
Ladies, please switch for the judges.
Okay, we need to hear some more cheering because this is a lot of work in the gym. Lots of work. And can you believe these ladies are married and that are moms? Look at this. This is inspiration for all of us. Okay, I'm looking for Tanya to give me the nod. Just hang in there, girls. They're having a tough time.
In the meantime, we get to enjoy the Magnum PI theme song.
Yes, those girls are thinking, oh my gosh, my smile is about to break. Yes. Okay, if you think this is tough, we have more girls still. Yes.
2 more flights.
2 more groups.
Okay, ladies?
Yep,
Thank you very much, ladies.
they're ready. Now, Dawn, I know you want to see some more bodies.
Man, I'm in
yeah.
heaven.
All right. Good job, ladies. Let's continue on with Lori Conklin, Mrs. Galveston County.
Kate York, Mrs. Collin County.
Night Rider, Mighty Wise, MacGyver, Magnum,
Alice Anderson, Mrs. Harris County.
18, Night Rider, Mighty Wise, MacGyver, Magnum, back to Hawaii.
Lori Martin, Mrs. College Station.
Emily Mullen, Mrs. Irving.
Cherie Robertson, Mrs. Spring.
Night Rider, Mighty Wise,
Melissa Poxa, Mrs. DFW.
Night Rider, Mighty Wise, MacGyver,
Laura Santi, Mrs. Keller.
Jennifer Martin, Mrs. Southeast Texas.
Sheila Berthelsen, Mrs. West Houston.
Lisa Haven, Mrs. Comal.
Let's bring the ladies out for another look.
Knight Rider, Mighty Wise, MacGyver, back to Hawaii.
I just love it.
Knight Rider, Mighty Wise, MacGyver,
This is Dawn's favorite part of the whole pageant.
to Hawaii.
Where else but at this pageant would be people shouting, "Go Mom"? Excellent.
I love it. Go Mom. Okay, ladies, switch. There you go.
We're just waiting for a nod from the judges.
They're having another hard time, it looks like.
All right, ladies, thank you very much.
Okay, we have one last group to go, and we're going to start with Sally Mesa, Mrs. Tarrant County.
Bethany Netzel, Mrs. Greater Houston.
Laura Scherher, Mrs. Woodlands.
April Caldwell, Mrs. Taylor County.
Dawn Neufeld, Mrs. Frisco.
Tia Hardiman, Mrs. Camp County.
18. Knight Rider. Might be wise. MacGyver. Back to Hawaii. 18. Knight Rider. Might be wise. MacGyver. Back to Hawaii.
Stephanie Myers, Mrs. Euless.
Tiffany Vaughn, Mrs. Houston.
And our last contestant vying for the title of Mrs. Texas 2009 is Misty Jeter, Mrs. Montgomery County.
All right, ladies, bring it back out to the judges, please.
Knight Rider. Might be wise. MacGyver. Back to Hawaii. 18. Knight Rider. Might be wise. MacGyver. Back to Hawaii.
Go, Mom.
Wow. You ladies look awesome. Makes me want to go to the gym right now.
That's not 10 and a half.
No. Okay, thank you, ladies. So I think we might have a Mrs. America on the stage. So what do you think? Don't you think we have a Mrs. America on the stage tonight? I think, wow, all of them could win Mrs. America. They look great. So are you turned off? Oh, every wife's dream to have their husband turned off. Okay, at this time, while they change into their evening gown competition, we're going to bring out a lovely young lady who comes and helps us for a couple of years now. Her name is Christy, and she is currently the Miss Highland Park, and she will be competing for Miss Texas in 2 weeks. So we want to bring her out. Christy, how are you? Thank you for coming. Tell us, you just finished college, right? Tell us about what you're doing.
Okay. I just actually in May graduated from UT Arlington with my Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science, and I'll go back this fall. I start my master's in social work this fall, but in 2 weeks I compete for the title of Miss Texas, so I'm very excited.
Well, we're very excited, and your talent is singing, and we'll be looking for you on TV. And this is your second year to compete, is that correct?
This is actually my 5th year to compete at Miss Texas, so.
Okay, well, yes. Well, we wish you, for those of you who don't know, it takes like 3 to 7 years to actually win Miss Texas. It's very competitive. So we wish you the best of luck, and your first song you're going to sing for us tonight is?
The first song I'm going to be singing is All Rise.
Okay.
There's a holy hush all around me as I walked into the room, and as the Spirit laid his hands on me, I was gloriously made new. There's a great and awesome presence and a light as bright as day, and as I bowed to kneel with the angels, I heard the Spirit say, all rise, we stand before the throne in the presence of the Holy One. All rise, as we worship the Messiah, who was and is to come. He is the great I am. All rise, we stand before the throne in the presence of the Holy One. All rise, as we worship the Messiah. All rise, all rise, all rise, all rise.
Wow.
Thank you.
American Idol don't got nothing on her. My goodness, amazing. Very, very nice.
We could be looking at the next Miss Texas, I think, right here.
I think so. I think so. You know,
All right.
this is 25% of their score, the
Yes.
evening gown competition.
Awesome. Okay, let's see the evening gown competition. Here we go. Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's start with number 1, Sonia Apple, Mrs. Denton County. Lots of proud husbands out there.
And number 2, Lana No, Mrs. Bear County.
Christina Mitchell, Mrs. Bay Area.
Trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find
Holland, Mrs. Katie.
Dream that you did too. Oh, why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red roses too.
Carrie Thomas, Mrs. Lone Star.
And I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the face.
Cindy Mocree, Mrs. Austin.
She says she can't see how do you do. They really say I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Billy Joe Ryan, Mrs. Waller County.
Someday wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
Christine Reeves, Mrs. Tomble.
Dream that you did too. Why, oh, why can't
Amy Hogan, Mrs. Southlake.
Holly Hensler, Mrs. Plano.
dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow.
Jesus Severnal, Mrs. Arlington.
Dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Someday wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above.
At this time, we'd like to ask for those contestants to come back on the stage one last time for the judges. Aren't they beautiful, the gowns? Wow. All I know, Dawn, is this is the part of the competition that you have to convince your husband to fork over the money so that you can stand up here and feel beautiful. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. The gowns look beautiful.
Clouds away brightness of day. I like the dark.
I will be emailing all of you to see about borrowing some dresses.
What a wonder.
They look beautiful.
I don't think I could squeeze into any one of them, tell you the truth.
The colors of the rainbow
I love the Go Moms.
Yes.
also on the faces of people passing by.
Just letting the judges do another look. This is a difficult decision, obviously. Extremely difficult.
And Don, I don't know if everyone knows out there, but what the judges are doing is that they're trying to lower the number to top 15.
Exactly.
So they can only circle 15 names. So that's why we have the girls come back, and so they have a hard time thinking, oh, I like her, I like her. And then they have to decide what 15 girls they circle in each category.
I tell you, I've judged a few years, and I would not want to be a judge in this one just because there is such an extremely high level of talent here tonight.
You can tell they're having a hard time. And Tanya said, okay. All right, ladies, thank you.
And by the way, Tanya is our chief auditor down here. She's doing all the hard work, along with Alvin.
And Alvin's become one of our regulars, too. We can always count on him. Okay, continuing on in evening gown competition, we'll start with Lori Conklin, Mrs. Galveston County.
Kate York, Mrs. Collin County.
Alice Anderson, Mrs. Harris County.
Someday wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top, that's where.
Lori Martin, Mrs. College Station.
Emily Mullen, Mrs. Irving.
I watched the moon fall, me and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies all blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Cherie Robertson, Mrs. Spring.
So pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people passing by. see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really sing, I love you. I hear babies cry and I
Melissa Potsa, Mrs. DFW.
Delana Barsanti, Mrs. Keller.
Jennifer Martin, Mrs. Southeast Texas.
Sheila Berthelsen, Mrs. West Houston.
Lisa Haben, Miss Comal. Mrs. Comal. I'd like to take one more look. Ladies, if you'll come back out and give the judges one more look. Our second group and the evening gown competition. Wow, some nice color, huh, Don?
Man, oh man. Like one of the best comments was, "You rock, Mom."
Yes, I heard you rock, Mom. I love it.
Wow. Stunning, stunning.
I don't think there's a greater compliment when your child says you rock, Mom.
Exactly.
Then you know you're on top.
Like the judges have given a nod. Ladies, thank you very much.
Someday I wish upon a star, wake up with the clouds are far behind. Where trouble melts like a lemon drop, high above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere.
Before we proceed with the last group, I just want to remind you this is a copy-protected show, and there's two rather large Texas men standing up there, and if they see flashes, no, I'm just kidding, but please, there's going to be plenty of photography and videotapes available of your loved one up here, so thank you.
Continuing on, our last group of evening gown, starting with Sally Mesa, Mrs. Tarrant County.
Bethany Netzel, Mrs. Greater Houston.
Once in a lullaby, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly.
Laura Sherher, Mrs. Woodlands.
Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere.
April Caldwell, Mrs. Taylor County.
Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of Greenland.
Dawn Neufeld, Mrs. Frisco.
I watch the rain fall, me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue, and I see clouds of white, and the brightness of green. I like the dark.
Tia Hardiman, Mrs. Camp County.
What a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They really say, I love you.
Stephanie Myers, Mrs. Eulist.
I don't want this to end. Tiffany Vaughn, Mrs. Houston.
Where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
And last but not least is Misty Jeter, Mrs. Montgomery County. So ladies, here they come.
We go out in these kinds of outfits all the time, yeah. She has some beautiful ones, I tell you. Man, oh man, I don't want this to end.
Ladies look beautiful.
Oh, all of them.
That's the hardest part, is to stand up there and keep smiling.
Oh, man.
It is.
Well, they've got a lot of support down there. I would be smiling.
All right, we got the wave from Tanya.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. So, Dawn, sad news, that concludes the evening gown competition.
Well, we get to see more. Well, now the judges have a very difficult task ahead of them. They've got to narrow down these 30 some odd women down to 15, and then we're going to go through it again. Well, ladies and germs, it's about that time to announce the top 15 semifinalists. Our auditor has confirmed the scores of the 15 contestants with the highest marks that about continue as they will continue on as semifinalists. Now tonight the judges will evaluate these 15 and they'll choose just 5. They'll narrow it down to 5. Then one of them will become Mrs. Texas, my adopted state, for one day. I hope I can still be tomorrow, because I'm going to be here tomorrow too. Well, the envelope is right here. And now, please keep in mind, we're going to read these names off, and they are in no particular order. It doesn't mean that one is higher points than the other one, okay?
So let's welcome back the contestants, shall we?
Exactly. Let's welcome them back. Wow.
And ladies, I just want to say good luck to all of you, and I think that from all of us here, from the bottom of our hearts, you all have done a fabulous job, and any one of you could win Mrs. Texas.
And I love drawing out this moment as long as possible for anticipation. But I also want to introduce Tanya Anderson, who is our chief auditor, who is making sure that everything is in order. She's waving to us. She she's the one who's had the difficult task along with these judges, and I don't envy their position at all because this is truly a very high level of talent here tonight. So without further ado, let's begin in random order with our top 15.
Okay, come on down. Mrs. Austin, Cindy Mowbray.
Mrs. Greater Houston, Bethany Netzel.
Mrs. Harris County, Alice Anderson.
Mrs. Camp County, Dia Hardiman.
Mrs. Woodlands, Laura Schober.
Mrs. Lone Star, Carrie Thomas.
Everybody gotta see it for yourself.
Mrs. Arlington, Tisa Subernal.
It's like kind of automatic.
Mrs. Frisco, Don Neufeld.
You just gotta let them.
Okay, we're halfway there.
Halfway there.
When you ready.
Mrs. Irving, Emily Mullen.
Anybody follow baseball? Okay. Mrs. Montgomery County, Misty Jeter.
Mrs. DFW, Melissa Posa.
Mrs. College Station, Lori Martin.
Uh-oh, Don has to get close. So you gotta make room for 3 more, Don. Are you sure you don't want to take a quick photo for Facebook?
I just want to be seen on stage with them. That's all I want.
Okay, 3 more. Come on down. Mrs. Denton County, Sonia Apple.
Mrs. Galveston County, Lori Conklin.
And the last contestant to compete for Mrs. Texas 2009, Mrs. Tarrant County, Sally Mesa. How about a nice round of applause for all the contestants?
Yes. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the top 15 semifinalists for Mrs. Texas 2009. Wow.
All right, ladies, thank you. Go get ready for a swimsuit, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. All right.
I would like to now take the opportunity to bring up the person who should have been on American Idol. Christy Kibler is going to honor us with another song. Christy?
You can spend your whole life living something for nothing. One storm can come and blow it it anyway. God, He's great, but sometimes life ain't good. And when I pray, it doesn't always turn out like I think it should. But I do it anyway. Yeah, I do it anyway. You can pour your soul out singing a song you believe in. Let tomorrow never forget whoever sang. Sing it anyway. Yeah, sing it anyway. Yeah, I sing, I dream, I love anyway.
Thank you. That was awesome. I think she not only made it Miss Texas, but she probably will definitely win the talent competition.
Wow, Christy Killer, everybody. Okay.
This is your favorite part. You guys ready to see some swimsuits again? Okay, let's welcome back our top 15 finalists in the swimsuit competition. All right, starting with our first contestant, Sonia Apple, Mrs. Denton County.
Carrie Thomas, Mrs. Lone Star. You can hoot and holler if you would like to.
We know you would like to.
Yes, I'm being contained here.
Cindy Mokry, Mrs. Austin.
Tisa Silvermel, Arlington.
Lori Conklin, Mrs. Galveston County.
Alice Anderson, Mrs. Harris County.
Lori Martin, Mrs. College Station.
Emily Mullen, Mrs. Irvin.
Melissa Posa, Mrs. DFW.
Sally Mesa, Mrs. Tarrant County.
Bethany Netzel, Mrs. Greater Houston.
Laura Scherer, Mrs. Woodland.
Dawn Neufeld, Mrs. Briscoe.
Dia Hardiman, Mrs. Camp County.
Last but not least is Misty Jeter, Mrs. Montgomery County. Okay, let's bring these ladies back out for one last look. Dawn, are you doing okay? Some hair? Wow. Some great abs up there.
Oh my goodness, I promise I'm going to do more than 50 sit-ups next time. Ladies, would you please switch to the judges?
Okay, so what the judges are doing now, they went from 32 to 15, and so now they're circling 5 names only. Out of these 15, they're picking 5 ladies to make it to the top 5.
Thank you very much, ladies. You may now step off the stage.
We have to finish the show.
But once again, we want to thank and recognize all of the sponsors who have contributed to this evening's event to help out. I've got a big list here, so I want you to pay attention because you're going to be tested on it later. So.
Well, this is what Mrs. Texas, the grand prize, gets to take home tonight?
This is, yes.
Wow.
It's what's part of the fabulous Prime package, everything they get to take home tonight. And I'm going to let you share this. I'll read a couple of them, then you can read a couple of them, because I think we want to share this all. So
yes, because I know you're still
I'm still staggered. Custom-made evening gown for use at Mrs. America from Frankie Couture. C43 vitamin cream and Vengeance under eye cream from C43. Custom-made gold and diamond Mrs. Texas pendant from Ballerina Junior.
I have to tell you, that is unbelievable. Like, I'm very envious. I want to go back to get that necklace. It's beautiful.
You could have one. Can you compete a second time?
No.
No?
You can't.
Okay. Why don't you go through a few of these?
Okay. She will receive a designer evening gown from Alberto Macaulay. She gets fitness training by Boot Camp Fitness. They are the official fitness trainer to Mrs. Texas. Well,
Not that they need it.
I think if they could go looking like that, we'll have it made. All expense paid trip to the Mrs. America pageant from the Chris Company.
A photo shoot from Larry Wright Photography, color autograph cards, rhinestone embroidered banner, official Mrs. Texas crown, Mrs. Texas award, and use of the state costume for Mrs. America from the Chris Company as well. It's not nice to tell secrets, Frankie.
And she also gets Frankie. She gets Frankie for the year.
Frankie trains women for pageants and helps them know how to walk and how to smile and all that stuff. So, official Mrs. Texas crown from the Chris Company as well.
Waterford Crystal Bowl from Dillard's from Hewlin Law. They're always wonderful. Dillard's every year for us. Eyelash extensions from Lash Envy. Human Relations course from Dale Carnegie of Dallas.
That helps with all those appearances, I'm sure. $500 designer fragrance collection from YSL Yves Saint Laurent Beauté. Magnetic car signs from www.razor.com, razr.com. Makeup and photo shoots from Tamara Matthews at letmemakeyoubeautiful.com.
Hair for photo shoots from Joanne Peterson, which she does fabulous hair. An evening gown and the use of the entire wardrobe while at Mrs. America from Alberto Macaulay.
That's a lot. That saves a lot.
Yes.
Sure.
Free teeth whitening, 1 year general dentistry and veneers at the dental's cost from Dr. Peter Norris and All Smiles Dentist.
Wow.
That's huge. I remember that award. That was great.
And you still have a beautiful smile. Wall sconce from Coppertone Lighting, so that you have the proper lighting when you're setting the mood. 4 free sessions at 130 Fitness. A $100 gift certificate from JA Creations.
Mrs. Texas artwork from Talk of the Town Art Studio. And a family value plan, 12 or more, of our large 6-serving dinners from Dream Dinners of North Richland Hills. And boy, as a mom and a wife, she'll enjoy it.
I would like some of that.
The free dinners.
Yes, they're delicious. So we want to send a very big round of applause and a thank you for all of our wonderful sponsors. Without the support of our sponsors, the Mrs. Texas competition simply would not be what it is.
But anyway,
I'm going to go peek backstage.
Well, Christy is going to come out and sing.
Christy Kidler, everybody.
I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I had my mind turn around in space, yeah. Watch it growing. Oh, if you're listening, God, please don't make it hard to know if we should believe the things we see. Tell us, should we run away? Should we try and stay? Or would it be better just to let things be? Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it's taught me to love, so it's real, real to me, and I've learned that we should look inside our hearts to find a world full of love like yours and mine, like
How somebody your size can have so much sound amazes me. Wonderful. Thank you, sweetheart. Beautiful.
And we'll be able to say we knew her when she wins
Way
Miss
back
Texas.
when, exactly. Well, I hope she remembers us.
Well, guess what? I just walked backstage and the ladies are all prepared for evening gown.
They're all ready to come back out. So without further ado, let's bring them out again.
And the evening gown competition.
Evening gown competition.
With contestant number 1, Sonia Apple, Mrs. Denton County. Where's that music?
It's coming.
Or the music will be coming. There we go.
Trees of Greenland, red roses too. I watched them bloom for me and you.
Carrie Thomas, Mrs. Lone Star.
What a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself.
Cindy Mokry, Mrs. Austin.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky. How so faces of people passing by. So fresh, shaking and singing. How do you do? They really say, I love you.
Tisa Severnell, Arlington, Mrs. Arlington.
They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful
Lori Conklin, Mrs. Galveston County.
Mr. Puyama Corner for up the auto. Mr. Puyama, corner. It's like kind of automatic kind. You don't need to talk and stuff. You just gotta let them, and the stuff just waiting for when you ready. What happened? The colors of
Alice Anderson, Mrs. Harris County.
of people passing by, so fresh, shaking and singing. How do you do?
College Station.
Red roses too. I watched them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what
Emily Mullen, Mrs. Irving.
eyes of blue, and I see clouds of white and the brightness of thee. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful the colors of the rainbow
Melissa Poza, Mrs. DFW.
are people passing by. She's shaking as how do you do? They really say I love you. I hear babies cry and I they'll learn much more than
Sally Mesa, Mrs. Tarrant County.
to everybody gotta see it to yourself. Make the kulia na pono. So, after aro. So when you make the kulia na, pono.
Bethany Netzel,
Just let
Mrs.
come
Greater
automatic
Houston.
happen. You don't need to talk and stuff crazy. What happens? You just gotta let them, and they'll stop just waiting for when you ready. What happened? The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky.
Laura Scherer, Mrs. Woodlands.
The people passing by, she feels shaking eyes. How do you do? They really say, I love you. I love you.
Dawn Neufeld, Mrs. Frisco.
Red roses too. I watched them bloom for me and you, and I
Dia Hardiman, Mrs. Camp County.
I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful
Misty Jeter, Mrs. Montgomery County.
so pretty in the sky. I see faces of people passing by. See friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and
All right, let's bring all 15 out once again for the judges to narrow it down to just 5.
Wow, that's going to be tough.
How do you do? They really say
Okay, girls, scoot down a little bit. Scoot down, Sally, a little bit, that way. Keep going. We have to get them all in here. There you have your top 15 in evening gown competition. This is the time, ladies, you want to give those judges the good eye contact and the smile because they are going down the line saying, okay, circle her, her, or her, right?
Yes.
This is when you want to be smiling big time.
Wow. They're loving it. We might.
It's like kind of automatic thing.
Well, you ladies definitely have a big fan club out there.
You just gotta let them.
Definitely.
So you do.
All right, we've got the nod from the judges, so ladies, please step off.
Good luck, ladies. Next time we see you, we'll be announcing the top 5.
Well, you know, you've all been able to enjoy two parts of the competition, but you know, the judge spent most of this morning interviewing each one of these contestants at a very lengthy interview with each one of them. So that is a huge part of the determination today.
50%? Huge.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's pretty huge. And we actually, when we announced the top 5, Don, you have the honor of, you'll get to go and ask each girl an on-stage question.
Just to stand next to them for 30 seconds is fine with
Yes.
me.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you'll actually have to.
Oh, do I have to ask a question? Oh.
We're hoping you can bring out a little of each lady's personality.
I think some of my personality will come out.
Yes.
That's for sure. So.
Bobby Joe, I'd like for you to come up with Logan and Lauren and our reigning Mrs. Texas. And she's going to bring up 2 of her lovely children. And I made the mistake earlier saying she had 2 daughters and a son. That was wrong. She has Logan, a son, who's 8, and then Lauren, and then the new little boy, 3 months old, his name's Lane. But we'll let him stay in Daddy's arms. But we're going to see him later. But we want to see Ooh, Logan.
Now
you
there's a
look
cowboy,
handsome.
huh?
Yeah. Wow, what a handsome family. Now, Lauren, I accidentally stepped on your toe last year when your mommy won. Do you remember that? You do. Darn. I was hoping you'd maybe forget that by now. Will you forgive me for doing that? That was an accident. Will you? Yes? Okay, good.
I love those socks. Those are the cutest.
I wanted to see if you might have any jokes. No? How about you, Lauren? How about a knock-knock joke? No? Okay.
What do you call a sailor?
A sailor.
A sailor fish.
All right.
That was great, Lauren. Do you have a good one? Okay, we need to see this cute cowboy. Turn around, Logan. There we go. So, Logan, come over here. I want you to stand by me. Handsome. Tell me what it's been like having your mommy as Mrs. Texas this year. Has it been a lot of fun?
Yes, it's been a lot of fun when it's been Mrs. Texas.
Yeah. And then you have a new baby brother. Are you being a good big brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. And then were you like one of these children last year saying, "I love you, Mom," and "Go, Mom"? Were you out there doing that last year?
Yes.
Yeah. And it paid off, huh? Yeah. And Lauren, how about you? Were you excited about your mom?
Yes.
Guess what?
Yes, ma'am.
And your mom's teaching them manners. I love it. Yes. So, other than me stepping on your toe, did you yell for your mommy out there?
Mommy!
Okay.
And it worked. The judges heard. So we're going to be sad that she's not going to be Mrs. Texas anymore. But you know what? I hope you guys come back every year and that you'll have some good jokes for me. Will you do that next year? Yeah? You'll do that? Will you do that, Lauren? I loved yours. That was awesome. And Logan, you be a good big brother, okay? And are you being a good big sister?
Guess what?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so do we get to see the little 3-month-old Lane later?
Yes, you do. Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
Can you enlighten us? What, babe?
Can we bring Lane on the stage?
Yeah, when your mom takes her final walk, will you bring him up? Okay.
All right.
And we just want to thank you for being a great, and I'm excited because we'll always be sisters.
Thank you.
Okay. And we get to see the handsome husband later, too. All right, thank you, Mrs.
All
Texas.
right, Bobby Joe. I have been handed the list,
Woo, all right.
the final 5. So if we can open up the stage, please.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand this.
I know. I like to draw this out for about a half hour usually. Now, let us begin with the first finalist, semifinal, top 5. That's what it would be.
Oh my gosh, my heart's pounding. You want me to start here?
I want you to start. Well, you can start anywhere you want.
Okay, I'm going to start right here. Bethany Netzel. Come on down. She is our first finalist.
First finalist. Okay. Next, number 2 of 5. Anybody follow baseball? Christy Jeter. Misty Jeter. I'm sorry, Misty Jeter.
Okay, now listen. You're giving away when you say baseball.
I know. Just so you know, I have bad eyes, and for me to see this small print.
And the third finalist in the top 5 this evening is Carrie Thomas.
Oh, my heart is a-pounding. Our next finalist, Lori Conklin.
And our last finalist to compete for the title of Mrs. Texas 2009 is Melissa Potska.
There you have it, Texas, our top 5 finalists for Mrs. Texas America 2009. Wow.
Dawn, you get the privilege now to go and interview these girls with the top 5 questions. Do you have that question, by the way?
I don't have that question. I'm going to get that question from somebody.
Tracy? Sometimes she
has-
hides it under here.
No.
We will get that top 5. Oh, is that it?
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask the ladies to go off stage, and I'd like to keep just one lady up here. Why don't you stay up here? They're going to go be put in the soundproof booth. They actually put them in a dunk tank underwater. They have to hold their breath, so we won't be too long with this. Well, they can't hear, underwater.
But you have to give them a second to get back to the tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm going to wait for the okay from Franklin. You can see his gold glittery hand out there.
You better study that question there, Dawn.
Frankie is in touch with his feminine side. Work it,
Okay,
Frankie.
and Dawn, while you read that question, what the judges
We're
are going to
ready.
do now that we have the top 5, okay? Just because I think that everyone needs to know, they're going to take the top 5 order, they're going to listen to the question, and they're going to actually pick one lady to be the winner, first runner-up, second, third, and fourth. And each position they receive, there's points allowed. And so they take the combination of the points, and that's how you have Mrs. Texas, first, second, third, and fourth runner-up.
All right.
Right? So there's no more circling.
That's good to clarify for everybody.
Right.
And without further ado, they are back underwater right now. So if they come out, well, anyway, here's your question. If you had the power to do anything you wished to improve the status of women in this country, what would you do? And why would you do it?
I would have the oh goodness.
Deep breath. It's okay.
I would promote breast cancer awareness for all the women that are in the world. It's a very important topic among everyone. It's either a sister, a daughter, or a mother. And I would hope that if I would take it and educate people as much as possible. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Good answer. Thank you. Frankie,
Bethany
follow Frankie
Netzel.
over here. Amazing.
And this is Mitzi Jeter. Your baseball.
Okay, here is your question. If you had the power to do anything you wished to improve the status of women in this country, what would you do and why would you do it?
Thank you. Okay, that is a very tough question. I would probably just forge a way for women. Women have made it so far in the last 10 years that it's just amazing to see Sarah Palin and Hillary Clinton making their way in the government and within our U.S. And I would definitely just continue in their footsteps. We have come so far since the 50s and the 60s, and I would be more vocal as Mrs. Texas and Mrs. America, should that happen, that it would be just a great experience and be the best I could be.
All right. Thank you very much. Just follow Frankie over there.
You've got to understand how tough it is to answer a question on the spot like that in front of everybody and with all the lights on you, so this is a very hard thing to do.
It is. And we're just getting a glimpse of their personality.
Hello. Okay, here is your question. If you had the power to do anything you wished to improve the status of women in this country, what would you do and why would you do it?
If I could do anything to improve the status of women in this country, actually what I would do is make sure that women were kinder to each other. This pageant has been wonderful. All of the women have been fantastic, but I think many women would agree that there have been times when there's been less than kindness shown to women. And I think if we were kinder to each other, it would elevate our status in the country and in the world.
Thank you very much. Great. Frankie will take it.
Carrie Thomas.
Here's your question. If you had the power to do anything you wished to improve the status of women in this country, what would you do and why would you do it?
I would definitely want to give women more power in the work environment so that we all have the equal opportunity to be at the CEO level with the same pay. And that's what I would do for women. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. There you have it, everyone.
Amen, sister. Yeah, you know.
Well, you're getting paid, you're getting 2 zeros. I'm only getting 1 0 for this tonight, so, see? I can't add either, so
Melissa,
I'm so sorry. Here's your question. If you had the power to do anything that you wished to improve the status of women in this country, what would you do and why would you do it?
If I had the power to improve the status of women in this country, it would be a simple-minded solution. Be promoting health and beauty. Just because I think we as women feel almost not underachievers, but we get judged a book by its cover. And so when you see a beautiful woman, know that there's a story and knowledge behind her.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Dawn, come back over here. That was it.
I get carried away. I'm sorry.
I know, but now we're going to take a final look at the contestants. So we're going to let the judges have one last final look now that we saw a little glimpse of their personalities.
Okay, and I don't want to hear a word from the audience, okay? Just quiet. No, I'm kidding. You want to show your support at this point.
So judges, at this point, you're going to have one last final look of the contestants. We have so many papers up here that, wait, here they are. We can figure this out. Okay. Okay, I have to see your numbers, girls. Oh, you don't have yours on.
Mrs. Greater Houston, Bethany Netzel.
Mrs. Montgomery County, Misty Jeter.
Mrs. Lone Star, Carrie Thomas.
Mrs. Galveston County, Lori Conklin.
Mrs. DFW, Melissa Popza. Wow. Wow upside down is mom. Appropriate here, don't you think?
You know, that's really funny because I sent my mother-in-law a card and it said mom, but when she got the package via FedEx, it said wow. And she goes, well, I just thought you thought I was just the greatest
Super
mother-in-law.
duper.
Wow.
She wondered why you wrote her address above.
Yeah. Wow. So all of you guys are wow. And this will probably take a few minutes, right?
Yeah, the judges have a tough job ahead of them.
Oh, and you know what I have to do? I have to go backstage, and they have all the former Mrs. Texas we put on our crowns and banners, and we help with the awards.
Okay.
So can you handle it out here without me?
I'll try.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll try.
All
I
right.
can't count.
We lost the top 5 list. We were so excited.
We can ask the ladies, please step off stage. Thank you.
Okay.
Because Frankie was getting tired of hitting that thing back there.
Good luck, ladies. The judges are finished. Final walk.
Wow. Well, before everybody leaves the stage tonight, we have one final gift. It's a thank you. And it's to Bobby Joe for being such a great Mrs. Texas. PaintYourLife.com has provided her with a beautiful 20 by 24 oil painting of her.
Here it comes. This is
These
a
are
beautiful
amazing.
gift. I look at this.
That's Tracy
Hand-painted.
Christ, everybody,
There's
from the Church
Tracy.
Company, the producer of the event this evening.
And without her, none of this would be possible.
Welcome for the last time, Mrs. Texas, a woman who has worn the crown with dignity, style, and grace. She is a beautiful lady in every way, obviously, you can look at it in her family. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Joe Compton, escorted by her husband and her children. Her husband's name is Chuck.
Being crowned Mrs. Texas America 2008 was one of the proudest moments of my life. It took me 3 years and was entirely worth the wait. Each year I competed gave me a chance to look inward, the opportunity to achieve personal goals, and avenues to volunteer in my community. This year has truly been a year of growth, self-realization, and blessings for me and my family. Not only was I crowned Mrs. Texas, but my husband and I were blessed with our 3rd child. Without the love and support of my family, friends, sponsors, and the Mrs. Texas staff, I would not be where or who I am today. First and foremost, I would like to thank God for all the blessings that He has bestowed upon me. Chuck, my husband, my best friend, and father to our precious children, I would not be able to accomplish my goals and dreams without your support. I know our love will never fail because we can achieve anything together. Logan, Lauren, and Lane, my beautiful children, I thank God every day for allowing me to be your mother. You are wonderful, amazing little people who bring me much joy and happiness. I will always love you unconditionally and support you. You are my gifts from God. In memory of Gary Douglas Jeanette, my daddy, you taught me to love God and the importance of family. I will never forget you, always miss you, and hope that I make you proud. Alex, my brother, I thank you for being the greatest uncle to my children. Taryn, you may not be related by blood, but you are a little sister to Chuck and I and an aunt to Logan, Lauren, and Lane. We love you. My director, Tracy Christ, you are and always will be a dear friend. Reflecting on Mrs. America, your level of commitment was unmatched by any other director. I will be forever grateful for your generosity, understanding, and support. Mrs. Texas 2009 will soon realize how lucky she is to have you as her director. To the entire Mrs. Texas staff, thank you for all the time, work, and commitment that you continue to give. To my roomie at Mrs. America, Kim, Mrs. Kansas, the comfort of your beautiful smile and kind heart brighten my day every day. You are truly one of the most genuine, loving, and considerate people that I've ever met. Lee Getman, thank you so much for making the trip to Mrs. America. Your support meant so much to me. You are truly beautiful, a model Christian, and a trustworthy friend. Tammy Thompson, thank you for being with my family at Mrs. America. I cannot express to you how much I appreciate all the love and support that you and Paul have given to me. Lori and Kevin Witt, Chuck and I are so blessed to have your family in our lives. We truly cherish your friendship. Thank you for being part of my Mrs. Texas memory. I never would have thought that a Major League Baseball player would be so nervous that he felt sick at a beauty pageant. Dr. R. Scott Yarish, you and your staff have been with me on this journey and believed in me for 3 years. I appreciate you and your staff so much. You are such a professional, talented, kind, and generous man. Thank you. Dr. Guy Lewis, you and your staff are remarkable. You are simply the best at what you do. To all the Mrs. Texas 2009 contestants, use this year as a learning experience to better yourself and come back ready to do even better than you did before. When it's your time, you will be Mrs. Texas. Be happy for the winner, be kind to one another, and have fun. Mrs. Texas 2009, Enjoy your year because it goes by so quickly. I wish you much happiness, many opportunities to touch the lives of others. This is your destiny, so make the most of it. Congratulations. To the Lone Star State and all the Texans, I love each and every one of you. It is truly an honor to be your Mrs. Texas America 2008. God bless you. Woo!
As you probably surmised by now, that Mrs. Texas is a family. And each year the Chris Company invites the former Mrs. Texases to help with the awards and the crowning. So they're going to be coming up on stage in just a minute. Do we have results? Now, before we get to Mrs. Texas, we are going to go through the list of other wonderful awards. And if each contestant, as I name your name, please step forward and receive your award. First of all, the Dale Carnegie Interview Award goes Dia Hardiman. That's Jennifer Palmieri, who didn't hear me last time. Evening Gown Award, Melissa Poksa. Ambassador Award, Billy Joe Ryan. Non-finalist evening gown, April Caldwell. Mrs. Photogenic. Anybody follow baseball? Misty Jeter. Fitness Award, Melissa Poksa. Non-finalist Fitness Award, Kate York. Community Service, Sheila Berthelsen. Contestant's Choice, Sally Mesa. Marriage longevity. This deserves a huge award. Sheila Berthelsen. Dale Carnegie, non-finalist interview, Amy Hogan. This one got a film named after her, Mrs. Congeniality, Sally Mesa. With my co-host. And from All Smiles Dentist, Most Beautiful Smile Award, Laura Scherer. Most ticket sales, and you're out here, Delana Barsanti. Director's Award, Holly Hensler. Career Achievement, Lan An No. Most Vibrant, Frankie. It's fun working with Frankie. Memory Book Award, Christine Reeves. Last but not least, this is the one you voted for with your pocketbooks. People's Choice Award, Laura Scherer. At this point, we are now going to name the winner of Mrs. Texas 2009, who's going to go on to represent the state in the Mrs. America pageant. So I just want to congratulate all of you. As you know, you are all winners here tonight. So without further ado, fourth runner-up. I've got to do what? Oh, top five, please come forward. Okay, these are our top five finalists here. Fourth runner-up, Bethany Netzel. Our third runner-up this evening. Any ideas? Carrie Thomas. I'm nervous. Just shut up and read, right? Okay. Our second runner-up this evening, Lori Conklin. All right, everybody, down to 2. The next name I mentioned is our first runner-up, and the name after that, which you probably won't hear because you'll be screaming so loud, will be our Mrs. Texas. First runner-up, Mrs. Texas, 2009, to go on to represent the state in Mrs. America, Misty Jeter. The winner, Melissa Poxa, is Mrs. Texas 2009. And thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and supporting your woman. There are going to be a number of photographs that need to be taken on the stage, so I'd ask that friends and family please stay off the stage until they take care of that. Thank you, everybody, coming out tonight. Truly enjoyed being in front of you. Good night.
There she is, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Texas 2009, Melissa Poxa. Isn't she beautiful? We have to get her waterproof mascara for Mrs. America. We did it, Dawn. Congratulations to all the ladies.